How did this project all come together?
Yeah, Don't Look, it's a project we've been working on for a while. It came from a story that one of the co-stars' family told me over Thanksgiving. Lindsay Eshelman, who plays Nicole in the film, her parents live in Plowville, Pennsylvania, and it was my first time really experiencing American Thanksgiving. And her family's pretty unique, to me, but not to the area. They're a hunting family. They grew up around guns and game, and, they do everything very legally and very properly. But it was still, to me, a shock, culturally, of the difference between coming from South America to what, real America, North America is like, especially during Thanksgiving. And they told me this story about how they had a family member, many years ago that was found dead by a gunshot in their garage, and no one thought to call the cops. They just thought, we all have guns, maybe it was an accident, and they just buried them. Now, I don't remember the details of the story, but that really stuck with me at the time, and I remember thinking, man, who has, so many guns around that if a gun goes off and kills someone, you just think, an accident. So that kind of generated the idea of, if that could be true about this area, what else could be true? I mean, hence the story was told to me about many, many years ago. So that's kind of why we start the film with a flashback. Nowadays, if that happens, obviously you call the authorities. But at the time, it just made sense. So I'm like, okay, if that could be true, what else could be true? So at the end of that Thanksgiving, I had this idea kind of mulling over about, we should make a feature. My partner, Javier Gomez, and I, who is still my writing and producing partner, we had done a short film, and we thought, what, maybe we're ready for a feature. So I proposed the idea, and I said, how about we make a feature? And he was like, okay, sure. In my mind, a feature was just a long short. So I'm like, no, sure, we can do a feature. And, for everybody out there, that is not the case. Making a feature is much harder and takes a lot more work than making even a long short. So, Javier was game. He was like, okay, let's do it. And then we started approaching the people around us. And we had a lot of no's. You're crazy, you don't know what you're getting yourself into, oh, that's a lot of work, I don't want to do that. We got that one a lot. It's amazing how people seem to want opportunities, but they don't really want to do the work. So, that was surprising to us. But, we continue asking, and we found a few different allies, including Lindsay Eshelman, and her family was like, that sounds great. And I said, would you mind if we shot it here? And they were amazing, and they allow us to share their property. And that's how we were able to make such a great film.
Can you tell me more about the location where you shot and what pros and cons there were of shooting there?
Sure. I mean, we shot in Plowville, Pennsylvania, which is about 20, 30 minutes from Reading. So it's farmland. It was amazing shooting there in terms of the community was really welcoming. Everybody was so excited. Lindsay's family has been around the area for many years, so when she approached them to help, they were all really willing to help out with the film in any way we needed to. So we got out of a lot of trouble. One day we forgot we needed a generator, and Lindsay was like, "I'll just run down the next farm and see if they have one," and they did, and they said, "Bring it back whenever." That kind of stuff doesn't really happen in big cities. So that was definitely a plus. We had people from the community drop pies. I really remember clearly this one couple her father got one night. We're shooting at the Christmas tree field, and when you see the film, you'll see that footage. But there's a lot of screaming, and somebody driving by heard the screams and called her dad and said, "Listen, there's something really terrible going on down there. You should probably go check it out." And next day, he told us, and we're all laughing about it. But that's how tight the community was, and that was definitely a plus. Now, on the disadvantages, it's being in a place that is not a big city. We had issues with crewing. There wasn't a lot of crew down there. We had to bring some people from New York City. Same with actors. We didn't have a lot of actor options, so we had to bring some people from New York. Some people flew from LA. And then equipment-wise, the same. We had an equipment issue during the shoot, and we had to replace a camera, and we had to go back to New York City, which was almost a 2.5-hour drive. So, and that was definitely a challenge, being so isolated from a major city. But in the end, it all worked out, so.
Now that you've had your chance to make a feature, do you want to make another one, or do you want to just go back to making shorts?
Well, I'm actually in the process of making another film, which I can't discuss it yet. But so yes, I am continuing to make films. I think shorts are really valid, and I'm also continuing to participate in shorts and to, make as many as I can. I just released a trailer of a series that I wrote and directed called House Sitting that's on YouTube as well. So I'm continuing to create in whatever shape it turns out to be. So yes, making features is much harder, especially financially, because it does take a longer investment, either private or whoever has an investor. But yeah, we're just following our gut and our bliss,
Did you get to use any of the locals as either background extras or anything like that?
We did. We had one local, Gary, who is credited in the film, and he was it's a gas station, so if you guys pay attention. We don't have a lot of extras or a lot of guest stars, just a one-day people. We really wrote this script to be very concise and very small and as easy to shoot as possible. But for that one scene, yes, we got Gary, and he's been to the red carpets with us whenever possible, and it's been a really great experience.
Oh. As far as the genre of film, do you feel that horror is kind of unique to itself and doesn't really share a lot of the same experiences that dramas or romance or comedies do? It kind of has its own little ecosystem of screenwriting and shooting and all that?
I think every genre has its difficulties. I think when it comes to horror, it's more difficult in the sense that it involves special effects, either in post or practical. We chose to do practical effects, which obviously made it harder to shoot, but at the same time, we knew our budget was limited, and we wanted it to look as good as possible. So we went and make sure that we had someone who could build things for us and could make the blood look real and all the other special effects that we have in the film. So in that sense, it makes it more expensive than having a drama where people just walk and talk. But at the same time, it's definitely more fun. There's an action component to it. I think to most horror films, because there's always chasing and trying to escape. And there's all of that as special effects that we got to play with. At some point we had buckets of blood everywhere. Mm-hmm. There's a scene that I'm, running in my underwear, you'll see in the film, but I actually had to direct like that because if you've worked in horror, you know that the blood is very sticky, so I couldn't put my coat on. But now we're talking Pennsylvania in May, and, our last day of shooting, it snowed. So it was very cold, and I was literally directing for a few days in my underwear. I remember my friend's mom walking by and just saying, "Aren't you going to put your clothes on?" And I'm like, I want to, but then we have to reset all the makeup, and it's going to take a lot of time. So, we just had to do what we had to do.
How many days again did you have to endure like that?
I don't remember the exact number of days, but it was 3 or more. It was a consistent amount. I remember thinking, oh, man, and my costume designer, Bruna Meb, she's amazing, and she was trying. She's like, just use this one, like this coat, like we just can put it in the wash. It's going to be fine. Like she would drape it over my shoulders, and then I'll start to stick to it. And I'm like, I can't. We're going to have to reset this whole makeup, and then I'll take it off. So, there's a lot of other death scenes that were very difficult to shoot because it was so cold. The actor was shivering. Javier, was one of them during the death of Sebastian. When you watch the film again, I won't give you any spoilers. But, at some point he was so cold that he was shaking so much we could see it on camera. So we couldn't shoot him dead because he looked alive. So we had some of those challenges.
I think that shows a lot of resolve as a filmmaker to be able to put yourself in a very physically uncomfortable situation for a period of time to make sure that your art is complete. That's pretty impressive.
Yeah, I mean, it's about getting the best result. We raised our funds through Kickstarter. We had 500 people that donated to the film, and we really felt a sense of responsibility to deliver the best product we could. So everything that we did, to come to the end of this project, May 14th, when we get released, was really remind of that responsibility. Those are all family and friends and fans and people that we really care about. So that definitely gave us an extra push to go that extra mile if we had to.
I haven't seen the film yet, so I can't say for sure. But when you had night shoots or you had scenes that were set at night, did you use any day for night shots, or did you shoot everything that was supposed to be at night?
We tried, but, like most films, we're not able to do that all the time. There was one scene that is indoors that we shot during the day. So we just had to black out the house. And that was, relatively easy because we weren't outside. But that was pretty much it. Everything else that you see outside was shot at night.
And how challenging was that, since you kind of had a limit on the crew and budget and everything else?
Yeah, shooting nights are always difficult because you have to train your clock to be up at night and then sleep during the day. And when you're directing, producing, acting, and doing everything else that needs to be done, then you don't get to sleep. So, I was very lucky that my producing team was super supportive. So Javier, Lindsay, and I, we really took on whatever needed to be taken on when the time came. Bruna, who did the costume, also, stepped out of her role and did everything she could to, make the film successful. So in that sense, we had a fantastic team that really tried the best that we could to cover every position. But, there have been times that I didn't sleep for 3 days at a time. So I would be sitting at the makeup chair, and then I'll fall asleep. And then I'll wake up and I'm like, I got to shoot. Or we would be setting up, I would do the walkthrough and the rehearsal, and I'll be setting up camera. And I'll be sitting in the car because it's so cold, and then I'll fall asleep. So, there's moments like that you just kind of take little cat naps wherever you can. I definitely don't want to do a film like this ever again. Budgeting-wise, it was so difficult. And I'm proud that we did, and the result is amazing. I think when you see the film, you'll see that what we accomplished for what we had, it was pretty much a miracle. So I'm very proud of it. But at the same time, from here on in, as making films, we definitely want to, do it at a different budget level.
And the most important question is, where and when can people see Don't Look?
Yeah, so thanks for asking. Don't Look is officially being released May 14th on DVD on Amazon. After that's going to be on VOD. We don't know exactly what the date's going to be yet. But if you like DVDs, if you're a collector like most of my horror friends are, May 14th, you can pre-order now.